3 BHK property in Pune. It's a place called, Baner, very close to that, near the IT hub in Pune. So I thought I'll share my experience and walk you through a step-by-step process on how I did it. And hopefully this will benefit you because before going through this process, I had researched a whole bunch of material and you'll see bits and pieces everywhere, but not a integrated, video or cookbook style recipe. So while this is still fresh in my mind, let me just walk you through the process. So as I mentioned, it's a 3 BHK property bought in 2007, so about 16 plus years old. Wanted to sell it for quite some time, and then decided to pull the trigger in Q4 of 2023. So let's go. So basically, we had a relationship with our uh, existing uh, property management company. They do basically rentals. They take care of, rental property management company located in Bon Air. And so they had tenants for us, and they do all the maintenance because, for obvious reasons, either your relatives or, friends or family are, not in a position to do that. And so this is a very convenient service we have. So um, again, there are various types of brokers available. So some basically charge a flat fee, and these are basically portals where they come and take pictures of your home, outside, inside, put it on the web, and then based on what pricing you want, or they could even do market research for you. They charge a flat fee. Again, you can search these on the web. And then there are, of course, brokerages that charge a commission based on the sales price. So I'll tell you what thought process I went through, and also my experience selling from about 10,000 miles away. Okay, so basically the flat free brokers, as I mentioned earlier, they'll do again they have different types of service levels. You pay a flat fee, in 2019, I think I tried one of them like 40 or 50,000 rupees, and they, do take pictures and advertise it for X number of months. They have a relationship manager, but all they do is basically you have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So if you want more add-on services, full end to end, then they can do that too. But at any rate, this involves, in my opinion, a lot of work on your end. Then there are, of course, the properties that charge, commission of the sales price, right? So basically, here they are paid only if they deliver results. And if they can't sell it at the price that you want, they don't get paid. So I think there is more motivation built into this business model. Might cost you more, but then again, if you want to get it sold and you don't have the time or the boots on the ground, then this is the best option, which is what we opted for. And then, of course, there's for some research, I put a website down there. You can check actual transaction costs, so you kind of get an idea of what the similar um, uh, properties are being sold for in that general area based on your city, years, and so on and so forth. So basically, for me, the most important thing was, do you trust the people that you're going to be entrusting this job? Because typically, 2 or 3 BHK, several lakhs, maybe even crore or something, right? I mean, do you really trust these people? And um, then are they aware of all the, idiosyncrasies of dealing, with someone who's not in the same time zone? Um, are they responsive enough? Again, you can figure this out by interviewing, um, meeting with those various, real estate providers on the ground. So what I did is basically last Thanksgiving, I went down, met 3 or 4 people, interviewed them, And then you go by gut feeling. And of course, you can also check recommendations and so on and so forth. We decided to go with one of the service providers who specializes in NRI, services, and they are well versed with all the time zones, communication, and so on and so forth. So that's what we went with. But again, you can do your own research. And so basically, what are the documents you need? So I think so this particular agency that we selected, they kind of pre-screen the potential sellers, if you will. So, which is a good thing, I think, because unless you have certain minimum set of documents, they won't even take you on as a customer. So, a couple of things important that you need to have for them to get the marketing started is basically your sale deed, your agreement to sale, and then all of those, they probably come with index two, parking space letter, completion certificate, and anything else that you have from the builder, right? Blueprints, floor plans and things like that. And of course, if you have a close relative and if you have POA, then they'll need a copy of that POA so they can deal directly with that particular individual. And then, of course, later on, I mean, it's not needed now, but eventually you'll need your passport copy, PAN card, and for tax purposes, and passport photographs later on. Okay, these are the basics, and so some of the key things, right? I mean, the whole time frame. So, like I said, we met them in during Thanksgiving, so about late November of 23. So once you give them the copies of all these documents, then they begin their, market research. They'll figure out based on the neighborhood. They'll probably go and check out the property from outside, and they'll come up with a price range, and then they'll talk to you and see, hey, do you agree with this particular range? And that typically takes about a month or so. Now we started this late November, and again there were a lot of holidays and Christmas vacation and all that, so nothing really happened until I would say January. And so once we decided, yep, okay, this looks okay, then they'll start the marketing campaign. And then that usually takes about, 30, 35 plus days, and then the inquiries start coming in. Now, one thing I put here in bold red is if your flat is rented out, it is best to, either have a tenant who is cooperative, meaning, once the marketing campaign starts and interested parties start coming in, right? I mean, you'll have to, arrange showings, right? So that would be a kind of a hindrance to the tenant. So depending on how I guess accommodative they are, they will either show or they might get irritated, right? So which is I've seen that cases happen too, and in which case it is best to figure that out earlier than later. And if that's the case, then just give a 30-day notice to the tenant so that you have a vacant flat and you can have maximum number of showings at once the marketing campaign is underway. And then assuming the you get a lot of buyers, you pick a buyer who's willing to pay the price that you are willing to offer at, then they'll give you something called token money. Typically, I know it's like on 1 crore, maybe it's 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, whatever it is, right? You guys decide what that money is, and they'll give you a good faith money. Once that money is received, then your broker will stop showing it to other folks, and for that, you'll of course need a NRO account in India because that's where the money will get deposited. So again, if you don't have an account, that's going to be a problem because I mean it's not going to be a problem, but it's just going to be a headache in accounting. And if you ever want to take the money out, because then you have to show the traceability of the money for converting back to the currency in the country where you are. So assuming you have an NRO account, that's where the money needs to go. And then after that, they will basically the buyer's side, and of course the seller's side also, the agents, they'll come up with a memorandum of understanding that typically takes 2 to 3 weeks, and it's registered, notarized, signed. It has basically the basic terms, sale price, um, and basic terms and conditions. Nothing fancy there. As soon as the MOU is done, and for an NRI, you need to immediately get hold of a chartered accountant. Presumably, your property manager already has referred you one or has somebody in-house, and they'll start the lower TDS certificate from the tax office. So again, some of the documents that you need for LTDS is basically listing uh, in the PowerPoint there, and and again, it is best to before you start the sale process to figure out if your PAN number is whether it's active or dormant or inactive. So you can check that online. Go to the portal or your tax, your CA can help you. Again, that can be done way before uh, any of this LTDS starts because otherwise, that will add a delay of what I would say 9 to 10 days. So assuming it's active, the fees for this whole LTS is roughly between 20 to 48,000 rupees. Again, it takes about some people do it in 20,000 rupees. It takes about a month, and if your PAN card is inactive, that's add another 10 days, so 40 days. Again, it's best to compress it and get all of these things done sooner. So we ended up paying like 48,000 rupees and got it done in like under 2 weeks, I think. Next is basically, as I mentioned, a memorandum of understanding. It has all these basic, talking points, and then after all of this is done, assuming your LTDS is done, then your sale deed and sale deed starts. And for sale deed, you need to, make sure that you have paid all of that. And again, the buyer's lawyer takes care of all the sale deed preparation. This and sale deed is basically a little bit more in depth instead of the MOU, which is basically the terms and conditions. This will basically, look at they'll do a check on your property, whether anything pending, a pre-existing mortgage. They'll go to the registration office, dig up all those, prior history, and then they'll prepare a document which is slightly more comprehensive. Um, and then again, at the time of registration, you'll have to make sure that you have paid all your dues and taxes and proof of all of that and society dues and things. And again, last but not the least, there is something called no objection certificate from the society that you live. Again, if your society is, pretty, I mean, committee members are pretty decent, educated folks, then you can get it done hassle-free, roughly, I would say probably 2 weeks. And I think there is some, government cap on it also, roughly 25,000 rupees. And again, if your society is kind of, let's put it this way, challenging, sometimes they'll pressure you for donations, they'll pressure you for all kinds of things, and also pressure you to give it to you in writing that, hey, we gave this money to you above and beyond required as a willing donation. And again, all unethical, I would say, questionable tactics, but that's what happens in certain societies. So hopefully this was helpful, and that is pretty much the sales process. So on the final day of the registration, and then I'll also tell you a little bit more about how do you transfer the money back in rupees that you get right back to your US or foreign account. So assuming it gets registered, you should probably get the final check minus the LTDS amount. So if it's 1 crore, let's say 5 lakhs is the tax deducted at source, then you get 95 lakhs, right? So, and then what you could do is you could take this certified check, go to your local bank. It could be anyone like ICC or anybody else for that matter, and then and they'll basically tell them that you want to transfer it to your US account, and then basically they'll need some your US account details as I've listed there, and the process is pretty flawless. ICCI, I think, is one of the major banks, so they do not require 15 CACP certificate from a CA. But if your account is with a smaller bank, a regional bank, I would say, not one of these top 4 or 5 nationalized banks or even ICCI, not one of the top 4 brand names, then I think that you need a CB certificate for the transferring for the wire transfer. So hopefully this was useful, and that is all I have for today. Thank you.